Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I hope that you had a good week. Last week was a successful week for you. I can remember I gave some tasks, as in I asked you to use your day and your life situations to the most of your abilities by the way that you conduct yourself, the way you speak to the others, the way you think, to generate this meritorious mindset, pleasant mindset, and a mindset which is willing to go the extra mile for others. I mean, if there's something that helps others, but maybe we don't have any benefit in doing so, then that's not a reason why we should not do it. That is the mentality which will help us coming along this path. Always thinking about how we can be of service to others. I have met many people, and I keep meeting many people who are interested in the path of Dhamma. And sometimes they know a lot and they listen to many sermons, but listening to sermons is one thing, but having actually a teacher who can practically guide someone is much more valuable. That can be in a sermon. I can be your teacher right now and give you practical advice. That's why I'm also giving you that. And always just giving Dhamma itself will not be everything you need. In our monastery, we are not just learning the Dhamma, because the Dhamma we can even learn when we are in a lay life. It is the same thing. I mean, when we are discussing the Dhamma in the monastery every morning at 4:30, we don't discuss anything different from what I even can listen to on YouTube from my teachers, or what they're discussing in a Deshana. It's the same thing. But still, it makes a difference in that environment, and sometimes we need to mostly focus on whether we practically apply the Dhamma, as well as whether we improve our qualities, our virtues, our behaviors, and the way we think, the way we speak to others, which is most important. Recently, some monk told me the way that he tries to be of service to others, and what he does is he always likes to carry around a water bottle. And that water bottle, of course, in our monastery everyone has a water bottle, and he can write his number on it, and conventionally it's his, and then he can use it wherever he wants. So most of the people, I guess, they carry this water bottle so that whenever they need, they can drink from it. But this monk told me he does it differently. Although he also carries this water bottle, he explicitly, in his mind, he does it, he sees himself as a servant of the water bottle. That means he's willing to do things for the water bottle. He sees this water bottle as a supply station for all the other people. All other monks, all other people in the monastery should have access to water, and this water bottle can be the supply station. So he is the one who's maintaining that. So he has to go through the trouble of watching out where it is, carrying it wherever he goes, explicitly in order for others to be able to drink from that. And there's one aspect to it, which is that all the monks and all the people who are in the monastery, of course, are living a very virtuous life. So by virtue of that, pardon the pun, it is something like you can gain a lot of merits because you're supporting people who are going and doing, aspiring to become arahants one day. So that's why it is said Mahasangha is the field of merits, or in Sinhala we say Pinkata, or in Pali we say Punyakata. Not just a field of merits, but unsurpassable field. Unsurpassable means anuttara, means cannot be over or exceeded, cannot be, you can't be more than that. So by rendering ourselves to service to this mission, and that applies to you as well as for me, we can gain a lot of merits. That's one aspect why we can do that. That's what comes out of it for us. But it's also simply a way to practice our good qualities and get rid of this little by little. So, I mean, at least to suppress this kind of feeling of ego, this feeling of I always need it to go my way. Right? Sometimes we can see within ourselves or within others this tendency for things always to go my way. I need to have this now let me have it. And after I need to go there, so please, everybody should know that. Everybody should be able to give me the chance to do that. So it's like running around and asking everybody to go jump to the side because I'm coming. Wait, I'm coming. So then it's like we are the center of the universe, and it happens, and that's fine. But one of the good things I like about the Dhamma is that it is not, because I have found other philosophies as well, and when it comes to this feeling of selfishness, it's never something where you have to be, where guiltiness or self-hatred will be the solution to that, right? So I would never stand here and sit in front of you and say, you have an ego, shame on you. Why do you do that? Why do you feel like that? Why do you act like that? Because you might feel shameful for that for a moment. You might even want to change that, but that in itself will not do it, right? That in itself will not be the answer. You might say, oh, I'm such a bad person, why I'm doing like this, and I will never do it anymore, I will never do it anymore. And that moment you feel honest about that, but will it really work? Have you ever, you might have tried this. Actually, it doesn't really work. With the best of intentions, you can tell yourself, now I'm going to change, or I'm no longer going to be like that, but it's still going to happen. Just because we feel like this in one moment, it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. Actually, this feeling of guiltiness and self-pity, self-hatred, these are actually still the same ego that comes up in another disguise. So it means you don't really advance by cultivating such kind of emotion. Self-guilt, self-hatred, putting yourself lower, is not the real solution. Because actually ego can have three kinds of, let's say, symptoms. Okay, I can give you these symptoms of ego, and then you can think about it. It's ultimately all based in comparison. Comparison is what our mind, when the ego is alive in our mind, what it tries towards, what it always wants, comparing, right? So you can think about this in your life and in what you see around you. It'll give you a lot of insights. So there are three symptoms, three feelings we feel which come out of this sense of ego. Of course, the first one is the most obvious one. Whenever the mind feels, I'm better than others, that is a feeling of superiority. In Sinhala it's called, the other one is called Nibbāna. I think this one is called, this is Nibbāna? Nibbāna is, I think, the other one, the lower one, right? Adhimana. Yeah, Adhimana. Okay. So, welcome to our sermon. So, we just jumped right into into a really interesting topic. So, I think you can follow this, although you don't have background from the last sermons. It doesn't matter. And later on I will go to other topics as well. Right now I'm talking about some very nice topic which is called ego. Something we can say, something we feel in our mind sometimes, or we can see others around us feel like that. So I'm talking about 3 kinds of feelings which you will all have experienced in your life. One is feeling superiority. That means the moment you listen to something, the moment you see something, the moment you meet someone, you feel good, first of all, okay? This is a good feeling. Good as in, it feels good. It's a pleasant feeling. Let's say you have written an exam and you have gotten the best grade in your class. Now, then that is what you will feel. You will feel, compared to others, I'm better, therefore I'm valuable. And then that gives you a feeling of pleasure, happiness. Happiness, let's say, a good feeling. Now, second feeling that you might know, this feeling is a bit hard to understand, I think. To be same than others is actually not a feeling. It doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel good or bad. But I can give you an example. When you're at school and you are there with your friends or your colleagues or the other students, now how do you feel in relation to them? You are at the same level, right? The teacher is somebody who's higher than you. You could say the teacher has authority over you, and maybe students let's say if you're in grade 8 and there are some students who are in grade 9, then based on that you might say they are also higher than you. Or you can use whatever as a judgment. You can use many criteria as a judgment. For example, you can use beauty as a judgment. You might say there are some people based on the beauty, they are same level with me, but then there are others who are more beautiful than me, right? So then again you feel there are some who are on my level, some are on the other level. And this is not something that really feels bad in itself. It's a neutral feeling. But it comes with a bit of a twist. Because I remember, I told you last week, when I was in university, I had many colleagues or many people who I used to study with. But what do you think? If some of them get a really good grade and I get a not so good grade, what would I feel at that time? That means now we all started the same. Now they got a good grade, I didn't. So then that means I go from here to lower than them. So therefore, now I lost something. I lost my position in relation to them. Therefore, when I am same with others, I never want them to over-trump me. So therefore, within this feeling that people are same than me, there's also a hidden fear, right? The fear is, what if they someday become higher than me? So there's a competition here, right? Although it doesn't feel like anything, actually there's hidden within this, I am the same with others, is a fear. The fear that what if things will change? What if things will change and they will become better than me? What if I will lose things? For example, when people live in a street, I remember in Germany, my family, and in the suburban environment, everyone has its garden, everyone has its house, everyone has its car, and family and everything. So I remember our family used to have a garden which was a little bit bigger than the other gardens around. So immediately when you see that, you feel like, see, we are more special. We are superior than them. But what if the other, for example, now if the neighbor buys some solar cells and he puts it on the roof, now immediately you go from I was better, now he has something, she has something, they have something which I don't have. Then you drop back to inferiority. So the last feeling, this feeling of I am lower than others, I'm lower than others is also something we all know, right? Have you ever felt like that? Be honest to yourself, you don't have to answer aloud, yeah? That's not something, I will never ask you to answer aloud, but answer in your mind. For your own sake. So you can, it'll help you to learn something. We always feel all these three things, and I am very sure all of us feel all these three feelings every day, okay? So these things happen in a flash of an eye. You might go on the streets and you see somebody, let's say if you are a woman, maybe you see another woman with a handbag. That moment you will feel something. Could be superiority, inferiority, or sameness. You see a beggar. The moment that you see a beggar, what happens with your mind? Usually, you feel a sense of superiority, right? You feel a sense of he's in a low state, I'm in a higher state. Maybe you want to help this person. Again, you help this person out of a feeling of I'm higher than him. This is the feeling that you have. Actually, that's why most of the time we like to help people. As an example, when you see a beggar and you want to give him something. Now, first of all, I remember this story when I was living in Germany back in the day, a few years ago. And I was taking a train back to my hometown, and then after I came out of the train, there was someone. He came up to me and he asked for money for a kebab. Right? Then I didn't have that money, but I gave him €2. So let's say a kebab maybe around €4. So that's the equivalent of maybe nowadays 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees. I gave him 2. And I felt like, oh, that's a lot. Normally no one gives that much. And now if I think about it, even the fact that I gave him €2 made me special to others, right? Because normally people give 1, I gave 2, therefore I am a better person. I'm a really good person. So That was also the reason why I did it. Then when I gave him these 2, what he said to me was, why only 2? Why not 4? And then, in that moment, my mind got really vexed. Vexed means stressed. This vexation, this kind of pressure. There was pressure in my mind because how dare he expect anything? Why isn't he grateful for what I give? So actually, now, wasn't there something that I expected from him in return from the thing that I gave him? I expected some sort of thank you at least. But I didn't get that. I got, why not more? Right? So that was not something in my mind, or I was prepared to listen. I was expecting a thank you, but I didn't get that. So I was expecting, or what the mind does is it's expecting acknowledgement for what it has done, and for what it thinks about itself. I want him to acknowledge that I am a good person by saying thank you. If he does that, then that is what I have, what I can get from this situation, and partly that's the reason why I did it. So I didn't do that just because I like this person. Right? I did it because it can help me, or not me actually, it can help the mind to live this identity, to feel this identity, to feel I am a good person. And this gives a feeling of superiority. That is what the mind really loves. The mind always likes to be someone. In this case, a good person, a person who helps others. Right? So, a lot of times we like to help others as long as it gives us the chance to be superior. I mean, in one way or another. In this case, for this mind to feel I'm a good person, that is what I have. That is what this mind wanted to have out of this deal. So it was actually a deal. Most of the times, so you will always feel these 3 feelings. This is a feeling which we never like at all. Inferiority is the thing that we hate the most, right? Inferiority is this feeling that I'm not good enough the way I am. When you look in yourself into the mirror maybe, or when you see others, when you are on social media, when you go on the street, or when you just associate others, they will always give you all sorts of views about who you should be and what is good, what is valuable, how it has to be. And based on that, and if you accept what they tell you, then immediately you will come and fall into this feeling a lot of times. And this is a feeling which gives us it's a very unpleasant feeling. I mean, the feeling like this some people feel like this all the time. Not all the time, a lot, right? In our lives, what our life essentially is a series of experiences. Every day you listen to things, you see things, you hear things, and all the while all these things are happening, you have feelings to that. You see things which are nice and maybe you want that. You see things which you don't like and you don't want that. You see other people and now you feel either superior or same or neutral. Based on some sort of reason. Based on some sort of reason which you have in your mind. That is what our life is. So I think for today's times, social media has that, is using these 3 things actually to our disadvantage. Because what happens on social media is, and what happens generally in societies, you are giving so many views. 2 weeks ago we talked about views. Views is all the things people tell you that are valuable, which are good, which you should have, which you must have, which you should be, what you should be, all these sort of things. What beauty looks like, and what you should do with your life, right? When you see social media, then you'll see all sorts of that. Where you should travel, what kind of brands you should wear, what a beautiful bracelet looks like, and what's the best destination for a weekend, what's the good restaurant in town where you should go to, what food from which restaurant tastes really nice. All these are just views. All these are opinions people give to each other and to the world. And advertisement is essentially only that, right? Advertisement is people are just spreading views. Look at this yogurt. That is really good. It's the best one. This is a very tasty one. This one you have never eaten before, right? So it's a unique, great, new creation. Buy it and be happy, right? So when you go on the streets, everywhere people will, everywhere you will be confronted with views. Your mind will always take in views, and based on these views, comparison happens. For example, let's say you are just an average teenage girl or boy, and life is okay. You maybe just 13 years old or something like that, and you sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're a little bit sad, everything fine. Now you go and associate some people, and they tell you about something that is really, really great. So for example, this is the way you should have your hair, this is the brand you should wear, this is the game you should play. Whatever the things, they for example, for girls, it's about makeup. This is how beautiful looks like. This is what beauty is. So they give you a view. This is what beauty is. And this is what valuable is. Now, the moment that your mind accepts that, what will happen? You can use this model, your mind will use this model to compare yourself to the ideal situation, to what you have accepted. And then now only you will start to feel, oh, the way I look is not good enough. This pullover that I'm wearing is actually not a good one. I mean, up to this point, maybe your mother bought your pullover, right? So when I was 12 years old, my mother used to buy me the pullover, and I was happy with that. I never felt it was wrong. I never felt there was anything wrong with this pullover or this t-shirts or these clothes. But then when I became 13, 14 and people around me started to tell me, this is the brand, you should wear this kind of pullovers, then only I started to look at the same pullover that I have always have worn, and felt, this is not good enough. This is not what I should wear. So now only I started to feel this. I am actually lower than others, because what good is the pullover from brand, whatever, some brand. Take any brand that you know, right? So based on that model now, this is a no-name. This is a worthless thing. This is something that my mother bought me. And even people say, your mother still buys you clothes? Come on. How can that be? You should go and buy your own. You should buy and choose your own. Even that is a view, right? Even that is a view, that is an opinion people have. You should buy your own clothes, otherwise you are so uncool. That means you are less valuable than others. That's also a view. Because in reality, there's no such thing as cool and uncool. Everything is equally good, right? So actually in reality, what is better? For the mother to buy you clothes or for you to go and buy clothes? Maybe different societies will say different things. different people will say different things. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It is just an opinion. And beauty is very much the same. Beauty is the be all and end all of life for the society. Not just the beauty of the body, that is one aspect that people chase, but other people chase smartness, intelligence, educational success. So for them, that is their God. That is what they run after. And that is, again, the idea exists. Now, if I can have a lot of academic success, happiness will come with that. Then I am very valuable. If I have a lot of educational success, if I have good grades, now I am more valuable than somebody who doesn't have. So we need to understand, these are only views. They have only a very limited meaning to play in life. Actually, when it comes to our mind, happiness has nothing to do with these things. Happiness cannot be achieved, mental happiness, internal happiness, you cannot achieve by becoming superior. But that is what we always try to do. What we always try to do is to go from here to here. That is essentially our life. We want to become someone. It could be you want to become a doctor. So you feel by becoming a doctor I can become valuable. But right now, how am I right now? Am I valuable? A person who wants to become a doctor, how does he feel right now? Valuable or not? Not valuable. Somebody who is queuing in front of an Apple store for 10 hours to get a new phone, what does he think about the phone? Oh, this is a very good phone, and this will make me valuable. Having this will make me valuable. In other words, what am I right now? Still not valuable enough. Not valuable enough. So therefore something is lacking within me. So there's a sense of inferiority. Why do people buy a car? It is one thing to buy a car if you need to use it for you going to work, going to a sermon. If it's done for duties, maybe you have a child, you have to bring your child somewhere. For duties, it's fine. But there's always a sense of identification with that car, right? Now this is a brand, this is this kind of brand, and this is a very new car. This costs such and such amount of money. So we don't just buy cars because we need to use them for going somewhere. For example, now you bought a car and somebody comes and with his knife or with a key, he's scratching all along the side of the car. So you have a big scratch there. Doesn't the car still drive the same? You can still go the same. Nothing about the engine has changed. The function is the same, you can use it the same, but how do you feel? How would you feel? You wouldn't feel the same. You would feel this car is no longer valuable in that way. And if people look at this, then they will maybe laugh at me. And therefore, we feel that we lose value by virtue of the car being scratched. So it's one thing if the car loses value, right? But is that everything we feel? Well, the car lost value, so that's it. Or don't we also feel, I lost also value? I lose my own value because the car I own now is scratched. So my value depends on the car I own, right? Therefore, what ego tries to do, or what happens in our mind is we try to become valuable by the things that we associate, by the things which are in the outside world, which could be our phone, which could be our cars, which could be the people we meet. Right? Last week I talked to Barack Obama. Last week I met him. He came to our monastery. So, how when I tell you this, how do you feel about me normally? Oh, he's a very successful monk. He is he's valuable. And how if I have this view that Barack Obama is a valuable person, yeah, only then, right? Because if this is the view that I have, now it gives me a sense of superiority. I'm unique, I'm special. So even that can be a way for me to feel special. Now I have something to tell you. Now I have a story to tell about who I am, you know? Barack Obama, I met him last week. He came, I talked with him. Do you know what he said? And now you're curious. Most of the times when you go to family gatherings, social gatherings, what we all do is simply, all of us, we try to go from here to there. Do you know what happened to me this time? That happened. You know what happened? This happened. So to achieve a sense of superiority, we tell each other all sorts of things. Because we never like this feeling of inferiority. This is the thing no one of us wants to feel, right? And to come out of this, we do something, you know. And then by doing that, we usually end up here. We all have moments in our lives when we feel we are not valuable enough, we are not good enough the way we are, and then we have to do something. For example, the moment that you start to believe in your teenager years or in your child, in somewhere along the line, that this is what beautiful looks like, and now when you accept that view, now you look in yourself into the mirror and you see, oh, damn, that is not what I see here. Something is missing here. Therefore, now what's your choice? If you don't like to feel low, you need to do something. You need to change yourself by going and buying something, putting makeup onto your body, changing something about you, either your body or maybe going and acquiring something. If everybody tells you, do you also have a smartphone? Like when I was in grade 9 and 10, people started to use smartphones. And then people were starting to ask, do you already have a smartphone, or are you still using the old ones? Right? So people say it's a very valuable thing. And if you don't have that, then they feel that you are lower than you are lower. And when our mind accepts these kind of views, now then also we feel we are lower than others. Now, if we want to hang around with the cool people, then we need to do something. We need to buy a phone also. Otherwise, we will be a person who nobody is interested in. And then we feel so valuable, useless, and no one likes to feel that. So then we buy a phone, we buy a car, we try to improve our CV, who we are, we learn something, we learn more, maybe we do another PhD, in order to feel valuable. Right? One of the things that I did in my life was, after my master's, I felt, okay, now I have done my master's in science, but still I'm feeling inferiority. I'm not happy yet. What I should do, I should travel around the world. if I have done that, then definitely happiness will be there, right? So then I traveled around the world in order not to feel this, so that I can tell something about me, so that I can say, so that I can feel this feeling. And that takes a lot of work. You need to earn money, sometimes you need to risk your life. So that after 10 months or 12 months, you can say, now I did this, now I have done this, and now I have acquired something which makes me special. Then again, we come back to this feeling of superiority. The problem is only this. This is a never-ending cycle. We come back to this feeling of superiority, and then soon enough we fall back to it. For example, a new iPhone is released, and you feel, oh, I had the latest model, but now there's a new one, so now I'm no longer special. Therefore, now the inferiority feeling is there. So to come out of that, what should we do? We have to buy another one, the newest one. Then we get this feeling of superiority again. Now I'm valuable. Now I can present myself in front of the others again. Because otherwise, they will look at me and say, you're still using that? That is a little bit, come on, don't you? I mean, the newest one has so many nice features. Now we feel undermined. And we don't like to be undermined, so therefore what we do is, we buy another one. And then for a few weeks it's nice, but then when the new one is released, you're falling back to there. So our lives, if you look closely into your lives, what you should find is what you have done so far, the only thing you have really done so far in your life, no matter how old you are, no matter what in your life you're doing, is fighting with your mind not to feel this and coming back to feeling this. And this is what we are doing perpetually, every day, every minute of our lives. And that's what people do until they die. And even the day before they die, they will still have to fight this feeling of inferiority, because their mind is still constantly in this habit of comparing. So therefore, you can always be hurt, you can always be undermined, because that is when the ego is living within our mind, right? So these are all symptoms of ego. So I don't want to say that if you have ego, you are selfish. That's not what I'm here to say. That ego which I'm talking about is like a disease in our mind, right? A disease which makes us suffer, which makes our mind suffer. The mind itself, that means actually who you really are, that's not something that suffers. Actually, that is always happy. But we have lost the connection to that, and therefore we always experience life through, it's like looking through the world through colored glasses. Imagine you are born with colored glasses, maybe green color, so you see everything as green. And if you don't know that you have glasses on, you really think that the world outside is green, right? Until somebody shows you that you are wearing green glasses, you will always believe that the greenness that you see is actually out there in all the things, right? And therefore, that is what you think life is. And then somebody removes your glasses and then you see, okay, the green was never there. It's always something that it was green glasses that I have worn, which made me see green. But green was never in the outside world, right? Can you understand that example? Right? So the Dhamma is like that. When you understand the feelings that happen in your mind, now you will realize that many of the things that you feel actually don't exist in the outside world. the way you think they do. And once you come to see that these are glasses which your mind is wearing, but you never knew that these were glasses. No, I'm not talking about these glasses. I'm talking about this disease which happens in our mind. Now, once you realize that these are glasses which happen in your mind, these are not outside things, now you will for the first time in your life be able to experience what life really is and what really is there in the outside world. That means now you will start to see for the first time in your life the outside world is not green, it is like this. It has many colors and it is neutral. And that's when you can say you're actually experiencing your mind the way it really is. And that is what we call attaining Nibbāna, in a nutshell. Attaining unconditional happiness. We need to only understand this thing, what it does and how it happens. If you understand it, that's all you need to do to be happy. Now, at least I hope you can understand that these feelings happen in our mind, and that what we always try to do is to become in some sort of way superior. That means to get what we want, essentially, right? Getting what we want gives us this feeling, now I am valuable in it. But as much as you try to fulfill your mind by giving it what it wants, you cannot achieve that. You will never be able to come out of this. Therefore, we have to think about a different approach to this, and I can explain you how the Buddha has solved this problem, right? So, for example, let's say somebody tells you about the holiday that he or she has been in. I went to, which country can we say? I went to Dubai, and I went to greatest restaurants in Dubai. When that person tells us, how do we feel? So there are two things which happen now. Actually, I explained this to you last time. There are two processes which happen in our mind simultaneously. The first process which happens is, so I'm making this very simple. I'm trying to do it as simple as possible so you can understand this. So that everyone hopefully can understand this. The first process that happens in our mind is we hear something. We hear that person talking. Okay? So that is a sound. Okay, so that's a sound. Actually, a sound is never something pleasant or unpleasant. A sound is always very neutral. Last week I gave you this example. When you look at this pen, when seeing of this pen happens, do you feel something pleasant about this or unpleasant about this? No, it's just, you just see this, right? It's a very neutral experience. Actually, it's a very calm experience, we can say. But is everything you see like that? For example, look at the flowers. Some of you, when you look at the flowers, and you might also be able to see, you see two kinds of flowers here, different colors, different color composition. So you will some of you will maybe say, no, the white ones are more beautiful than the pink ones, right? Some of you maybe say the pink ones are more beautiful than the white ones, right? Is there a common opinion? Is there a common fixed? Can we say that actually these white ones are more beautiful than the pink ones? Is that something that we can commonly agree with? No, right? It depends on people's views. It's not something that is actually determined by the outside object, right? Different people like different things, different haircuts, different kind of perfumes, different kind of whatever you see. Different people like it, different things, and the beauty they see is not the same. Some people find it beautiful, some people don't find it beautiful. So therefore, now these two flowers, you will have your own favorite. And what might happen is that some people who see these will not just see the flowers, but they will feel a sense of happiness or sense of pleasure, a sense of feeling good when seeing the flowers, right? Can you identify that feeling when you look at the flowers? Maybe not everyone, right? Not everyone might feel this pleasure when looking at the flowers. Some people maybe don't like flowers. Then this is not something that they can feel. Another good example is music. When you are listening to music in the car, maybe it's your mother or your father or your grandfather driving. He or she listens to some kind of music which you don't like. So sound happens for both of you, right? Your grandmother listens to the sound and you listen to the sound. So the sound is the same, but there's another feeling which happens at the same time, right? That is the feeling of so it could be a feeling of pleasure, which is a feeling of happiness, or it could be a feeling of the opposite, which we call as displeasure. Pleasure, displeasure. So for example, I remember when I used to go with some members of my family, we went to go to see our relatives, and we were listening to music. If it was music that one of my parents used to play, I used to feel displeasure in that moment. But that person used to feel pleasure, right? So is it something that is in the music? Is it something that the music has? No, it's not. So then, actually this feeling is something that happens within our mind, within us, right? It's not something that we get from the outside world. The music, which music is the most beautiful one? Which music sounds best? Can you say that? Can't say. Which perfume smells best? Can't say. What's the most beautiful hairstyle? Which computer game is the most fun? Which dish in the restaurant, which menu in the restaurant is the most tasty? Can't say. Different people like different things. Therefore, this feeling happens within us. So these are the two processes going on. Now, we need to understand the second one, right? Because the thing that happens is, people give you all sorts of views about what is good and bad, and actually whenever they do that, they are actually lying to you. Because when people tell you this is something that smells good, what are they implying when they say that? They are implying that when you smell this, the goodness, the happiness that you smell comes from that smell. The smell gives you this happiness, right? But can that be true? Can there be a smell that gives you happiness? Can there be seeing something which gives you happiness? No. So, whenever people try to tell you, this is something which tastes good, this is something that looks good, this is something that doesn't look good, what they always try to tell you is that seeing this gives you happiness, or seeing this gives you unhappiness. This is a movie that you shouldn't watch because it's very boring. So then, what is boring? The movie is boring, right? Can a movie be boring? Because for some it's boring, for some others it's not. For example, a romance might be boring to some and not boring to another. An action movie, is it boring or not? We can't say that. Because these feelings happen within us. These feelings, feeling bored, what is feeling bored? Have you ever felt bored? When our mind feels bored, actually that's a feeling of vexation, right? So vexation, I use this word, I introduced this word into these sermons at the beginning, a few weeks ago, but vexation means it's a feeling of unhappiness, feeling of a void, feeling of stress, feeling of lacking something. There are so many different kinds of vexation you can have. Boredom, loneliness, sadness, or when somebody insults you, when you feel inferiority, that is also feeling of vexation. So boredom is the same. We always like to think that this situation is boring. What I'm doing right now is boring. This book is boring, or this movie is boring. But actually, vexation always comes because of an expectation. I used to talk about this before. When we are bored, why are we bored? Because we expect something and that is not there, right? We have some sort of the mind expects some sort of stimulation, some sort of experience, but that doesn't happen. Then we say we are bored, right? Our mind has a lot of ideas and a lot of things which it believes are really, really interesting. And now these are the things the mind is looking for. And if nothing of that sort of thing comes, we feel bored. That's why, let's say there's a man and he's going to watch a romance. If he doesn't come there being interested to see this kind of story, then he will feel bored, because that is not something that he's looking for. So what he's looking for doesn't happen, and therefore the vexation that he has, or this wanting which he has, is always going to be with him. So boredom is nothing else than an expectation. Our mind continuously produces these expectations, which means these vexations. And here's the most interesting part, this feeling of pleasure. I didn't explain you this before, last few weeks, but there's something really important that you need to understand about this feeling of pleasure. Because we always believe this pleasure is something which the outside world gives us. The movie is what is so nice. The movie makes me happy, but it is actually, this feeling of pleasure is nothing more than the reduction or the relief of the vexation, right? I'll write this down and then we'll discuss. we go through life and continuously so many expectations happen. Based on the views that we have learned. The views, the people that you associate give you all sorts of views, and these views make our mind expect things. These expectations do what with our mind? They vex our mind. They make our mind look for happiness. Look for happiness in the outside world, where we believe it happens. And when this vexation is there, whenever the mind finds what it is looking for, whenever the mind comes to see what it was wanting to see, the suffering stops, the stress stops, and that's what we experience as pleasure. So when somebody goes to the movie, how much happiness is in the movie? Can happiness be in a movie? Because the same movie, some people feel really happy, some people feel very bored. So there can't be any happiness in the movie. It can't be. Otherwise everybody should feel that, right? Everybody should feel some sort of happiness when watching the movie. And some people say the movie is very boring. But if it is boring, shouldn't everybody feel bored? If the boringness comes from the movie, everybody should feel bored. But that also doesn't happen. So then, what we need to understand, why does boringness happen? Because it is because in that mind, in that person, what is expected does not happen. And that means the expectation still remains within that mind, which means the vexation still remains in that mind. So who has created the boringness? Is it the movie or is it the mind itself? So can you blame the movie for making you bored? No, but isn't that what people do? See, that's the problem. We are blaming the outside world for something that it has never done to us. In the same way, let's say somebody comes to you and he's shouting to you, or he's accusing you of something, or he's shouting to you. Now, hasn't that happened in your life? A situation where somebody says something to you and you feel sad or unhappy because of that, right? What did you feel in that moment? Did you really feel that? Didn't you feel that I am sad because of what he or she has said? For example, I remember many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, there was a girlfriend that I had and she broke up with me, okay. So when she said something, there was a sound, but there was also sadness. Did the sadness come from the sound? I mean, was it what she said which made me sad? Is a breakup something sad? Is when somebody breaks up with you, is that something that makes others sad? I mean, aren't there situations, aren't there examples when, let's say, one person breaks up with another person and then that person feels happy? Can't that happen? It can happen. Therefore, can we say that a breakup is something sad? No. That means if somebody breaks up with another person, can sadness come from breaking up with someone? No. Then why do we feel sad then? And why somebody feels happy in these situations? Why these things happen? One person feels sad, why? Because what he wanted, or she, whatever, what that mind wanted, it's better to say, what that mind wanted, what that person wanted, might be, I would like to continue this relationship with that person. That is what the mind wants. But what happened? Breakup. Now there's a collision, right? There's what I want, and there's what has happened. And this is not in agreement. So then, if it is not in agreement, that means it causes a feeling of unhappiness, displeasure. So the sadness is not in the breaking up, right? Can you understand that? Then why are some people happy when the breakup happens? What does it tell you about their mind? Can you say something about their mind now? There must have been an expectation, right? And what was that expectation? To be free from that relationship. Sometimes both persons stay in a relationship, but actually both of them no longer want. So then someday a moment happens, or maybe sometimes they have to stay together and none of them want, but maybe their families or the outside, I don't know, society forces them to be like that. Could be, right? Therefore, it's not in the outside world, right? I mean, this is a very simple example, but it's very important to understand this, because if you can understand this, it will transform the way you think. Because now, actually most people, let's say if a friend from my lay life came to me today and he said, Swaminathan, my partner broke up with me, I'm so sad. And it was it has been so sad. I mean, this breakup is such a sad thing that happened. Then I would feel like, how can that be? It was just an event. It's not something bad, it's just an event. Nothing can be bad about that. The events cannot be bad, right? But when you don't understand what happens in your mind, you think that events can be bad. I mean, maybe if you haven't listened to the Dhamma before, and now I try to explain you, events are not good or bad. You must have a strong disagreement with me. Haven't you experienced so many good and bad events in your lives so far? Think about good events which happened in your life. Do you have an answer or do you not have an answer? You have an answer. But if you ask the Buddha to tell, let's say the Buddha could look into your memories, and he would ask the Buddha, Lord Buddha, tell us about some good events that happened in that person's life. He couldn't give an answer. And if he were to be asked about bad events which happened in your lives, let's imagine he can read your memories, he also has no answer. Which means, actually all you ever experienced was events, nothing more. You have never experienced good events in your life. You have never experienced bad events in your life. Because there's no such a thing. I always have this very favorite example. Osama bin Laden died a few years ago. Was that something good? Because some newspaper articles wrote, it's a relief for the world. It's finally, it's a good thing that has happened. And some people were celebrating on the streets that finally Osama bin Laden is dead, no longer we have to be afraid. So is it something good that happened? Because some people were happy, some people were sad, even about the death of someone. Right? So is the death of this person, Osama bin Laden, is it something that gives happiness or unhappiness? Nothing. It's just an event. Everything is just an event. But as my teacher always likes to say, we create accidents out of incidents. I think the AC has some leakage and some water is dropping down. I'm not sure that is important to know, but I just wanted to inform. If there's anything that has to be done, it's not much, but I see that I don't know, I think we can't do much about this. I think we can, yeah, it's fine. Okay. Okay. So let's think about this a bit more. Actually, we are going to go through these things not just in today's sermon, but to really understand this and how everything is connected, because I'm trying to explain you bits and pieces of a concept, and when you understand how these things fit together, then you have won the lottery, let's say, because then you can contemplate on this in your lives, and then you can come out of, or even not even get into these kind of accidents, because accidents don't exist in the outside world. You create your own accidents with your lives by way of misunderstanding the situations and expecting something which you can never get. But when these expectations happen, you set yourself up for misery, right? Because everything is automatically born out of this expectation for happiness and for happiness ultimately. That's why I always try to say, our biggest problem, your biggest problem in your life is you want to be happy. Happy, I mean, in the sense that, actually, no, that's not correct. Wanting to be happy is fine, because even we all want to be happy, that's fine, but you try to be happy from the outside world. So you are looking for happiness, that's fine. We all looking for happiness, we all should. We have a right to do that, but you're looking at in the wrong place. By doing that, what happens to you is you start to suffer, right? So by listening to these sermons, what should happen with you is that you realize that happiness is not something that you can find. And when you realize that, you will no longer do that. And when you no longer look for that, all that really happens in your mind is this. And that's it. Sound, sight, smell, taste, touch, thoughts. But there's no more expectations. Therefore, this is the natural mind. This is the mind who does what it's supposed to do. Because the mind was born only with one mission. The mission of mind means consciousness. Consciousness has only one job, and that I'm going to write this down briefly, but we're going to go into more details. That means Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. So in brief, it means the mind or consciousness has the job of perceiving. Perceiving means to be aware of the experience, nothing more. Not to find beauty or happiness from that experience. That is what we try to do, right? I mean, do people go, when they go to a movie, do they just go? I mean, aren't they going with an expectation to the movie? Why are they going to the movie? So that I can enjoy that movie. That means, in other words, because there's something to find in the movie, and for that I'm going. So therefore, what is what is the job of this mind here? The job is to import something. What to importing what? Do you know what importing means? Like importing coconut oil, import export means there's our ships and you have to import something to your country. And think about your mind as a country. So what is it there to import from the outside world? Happiness, right? That's what we think we should do, or our mind should do. Importing happiness. So therefore, I'm going to the movie just to see. No. To get happiness from the movie. Why do people go into a relationship? Last week I asked you this question. Do people actually want to associate the person when they go into a relationship? Do they want to associate the person, or isn't it the happiness that they feel the person gives them? I mean, think about a relationship where now I give you two choices. Either you can be with a person one day and you will feel happiness while being with that person, or you can be with that person 100 years every day as much as you want, but it'll just be seeing this person, just like seeing this pen. Hearing the sound, just like this sound. Neutral. What would you choose? Would you like to live 100 years seeing a person, but just seeing, just hearing? No this? Would you like to do that? No, that's not why if you have married, that's not why you married. That's never the expectation you went into this. Because actually, you associated this person because of a hope in your mind. A hope to import something from him or her to you, right? Importing what? Beauty, pleasure, happiness, something like that. These are all words for the same thing, right? Now the moment, that's why after a few years, or if, for example, we start to feel that this happiness is not something I seem to find anymore within this relationship, we start to question whether there's any point in staying in this. So then we try, then usually what people do, go and change something about this. It could be going out of the relationship, or it could be trying to change the other person so that this inflow of pleasure can be maintained. So that, for example, if this person always likes to bring flowers at the beginning, then maybe that was something really nice, right? Now, if he or she stops doing that, sometimes we might say, okay, I want this, and it felt so nice, but now I no longer get this, so please, can you start doing it again, or can you continue this? So, because we always want this pleasure, and then if somebody brings flowers to us, what it does is, it gives us a moment of pleasure, right? That's ultimately what we do. I mean, that is ultimately what we are looking for, pleasure. Always thinking that pleasure exists there in this person, or in something this person can do. Now, if I ask you, if somebody brings you flowers, is that a good event? Is that something good? Can that give happiness to you? If the same person gives you flowers, let's say every day, now imagine, a person gives you flowers once a year, that's good, right? Every day, or let's say every month, it's also good. Every day, yeah, why not? But let's say every 2 hours, wouldn't you get fed up with that? So more flowers, But sometimes, tell me honestly, he's bringing you flowers at 8 o'clock, he or she, and at 9 o'clock again. Now we'll say, okay, nice, thank you very much. Then at 10 o'clock again. Wouldn't there be a moment on the same day when he or she comes with the flowers and you get angry or annoyed by these flowers, right? So actually what he or she has done is only giving you more flowers, right? But now you feel more happiness also? No, less happiness. Actually you feel offended. So can you accuse this person for offending you? Actually not. So that means if giving flowers is something which has happiness, then actually more flowers should always give you more happiness. So if somebody offers you gifts you flowers every 2 hours, now that means actually you should, by that much, you should be more and more and more happy, always. But that's not how it works. It's the same with listening to music. If you listen to the same song 6, 7, 8 times in a row, do you still enjoy the 7th time? No. So that's yet another way to prove you how much happiness came from the flowers, from giving, or having gifted. Nothing. So what actually happened was, you had a vexation. You had a vexation, which is the vexation of somebody maybe caring for me, somebody noticing me. When this vexation level comes to a certain, when this pressure level comes to a certain level now, and this person comes and brings you flowers, and this pressure level reduces, right? It's like this. I will erase the upper part. I'm going to sketch this very simply. I'll take another example so you can understand this easily. Imagine you are living with your mother or some close family member, and now you go to another city and you are working in the other city. Maybe you come back after 3 weeks. Now the moment that you leave your house, the moment that you leave from your home and you go to the other city, you have seen your mother every day. So how much happiness does it give you to see your mother when you see her every day? Not that much, little bit. Now you go to the other city. So can you see your mother now? Let's say you can't use your phone and can't call her easily, right? So you don't have any contact with her for three weeks. So can you see your mother now? No. But isn't there a wanting to see the mother somehow? Yes. So what happens with that wanting in your mind as time passes? As one day passes, another day passes, little by little, we call absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So the absence of your mother makes the heart grow fonder. So therefore the vexation level increases as the time passes. So this is the moment when you leave home, and now every day the vexation increases. So that means the more time passes, if your mother is someone who you really like, that means you believe happiness comes from your mother. If that is what you believe, then there's a wanting to see her, right? But it's not possible to see her. Therefore, every day again, more and more this vexation increases. Because your mind, every moment your mind hopes to see your mother. Is it my mother now? No, it's not her. And then, oh, that's sad. And this moment of sadness you experience gives you more evidence of the fact that not being with your mother is actually not good. So being with her is good. Therefore, little by little by little, you want her to see her more. And you are longing for her more. And when you feel this homesickness, then you feel, okay, the reason why I feel homesick is why? Because I can't be with my mother. Therefore, being with her gives me happiness. So when you think like that, when the mind thinks like that, this vexation increases more and more. Then, what happens when you go back to your mother? Have you ever had this experience of not being with somebody that you really love for a while, and then you meet this person again? Is it like, the first time you meet that person or see that person, what happens in your mind? It's actually an exhilarating experience. It's a really pleasant experience. I remember when I used to live in abroad, or when I came back from 10 months of traveling, and my mother saw me, she was over the moon. At that time, she cooked. She was cooking my most favorite meals. She asked me before, what do you want to eat? And she prepared all that. Because she wanted to see me happy. And she felt it meant so much to her at that time. So this vexation, now it releases. The moment that you see your mother again after these two weeks, what you want, or what the mind wants, that has now come true, right? So all this longing that has been there, now it can come to a stop. When you find what you are looking for, you no longer need to look for it. And that is why all this stress stops. The stress of looking for it, right? Isn't this a stressful time? Why? Because the mind is in this state of looking for something that it wants to see, hoping to see something. It's in hope, and hope means vexation. But every moment, the experience never gives you what you want. So you need to continue looking. And as you look, this searching activity, looking activity, is it something pleasant? When you need to look for the thing that you believe makes you happy. No. So this is very stressful. But the moment that you find what you have been looking for, do you need to continue looking? Is there any reason to search for anything anymore? No. So it is when that searching stops here that you can relax, or that your mind can relax. And it is this relaxation that you feel as happiness. So this is what we call relaxation. Or here I call it reduction. It is, what has happened here? Stress has reduced, right? Stress has reduced. And if the stress level before was 100, and here it is maybe 20, by how much has this stress reduced? 80, right? 80. Therefore, the feeling of happiness at that time is 80, let's say, okay? So it's a feeling of 80. While that stress reduces, it feels good by an intensity amount 80. After it has reduced, do you still have that 80 happiness? Let's say you met your mother, now a few days later, now you're living with her again. You're not going back to your home city, you're living with her again. Do you have this 80 now with you? No, right? Therefore, it only exists while it's reducing, right? When it is reducing and that in that time, it feels as 80, but nothing actually remains, nothing actually produced. You can think an analogy is when you eat something. Let's say you bought yourself some really tasty food from the shop on the streets, maybe biryani or something, I don't know, whatever you like. When you have it on your plate, how do you feel at that moment? Happy? I don't think so. Physically, hungry, hopefully, but not always, right? Sometimes we eat not because we're hungry. Sometimes it's just about stimulating our taste buds. Maybe when you have a dessert or something, right? So, okay. But we really want to eat this. Maybe partly because of hunger and because of the taste. We want to experience the taste. So we are in a lot of vexation. Right? Now, think about you are not hungry, you want to eat ice cream. Now the ice cream is in front of you. How do you feel at this moment? Vexed. That means there's a big stress level. Now you eat the first bite, what will happen? The vexation maybe reduces from 100 to 60. So you experience a moment of happiness, let's say to the level of 40. Now you took one bite and you have eaten that, and now you put the ice cream back on the table. Have you now gotten 40 levels of happiness? Is it now with you? Yes? Then you can stop eating, right? If you gain 40 happiness, now you should be happy, right? So then I can give the ice cream to somebody else, right? Really? No, you are still unfulfilled actually, right? There's still something, some sort of unfulfillment left. That means once it reduces from 100 to 60, you are where? Now you are at 60 levels of stress, not 40 levels of happiness. This 40 levels of happiness is something you experience only while it is reducing. It's not something you gain. That is really important to understand, because it's only the reduction of this stress that you feel when you eat this ice cream. But after this one bite, now have you now become happy? No, you are still hungry, or you're still desiring of that. But this vexation is now reduced. It's no longer 100, now it's 60. Therefore, you take the next bite. Now, if the next bite goes from 60 to 40, again you experience 20 units of happiness. Or actually, not happiness. Yeah, it's a good, a pleasant, and a nice feeling, but it's maybe less. Is the second bite as good as the first one? How can that be? Why is the same food, second bite, not as nice as the first one? If it's a tasty food, if it's a taste, the ice cream should be like that, right? If the ice cream is tasty, why is the second bite not as good as the first one? I mean, does the second bite, now when it's in your tongue, simply decide, okay, I no longer like to give this man that much of happiness, let me be a bit boring? No. Because now you take this second spoon of ice cream, and when you eat it, you say it's less good than the first one. But if you give it to another person who hasn't yet had it, he might say, it's the best one I had. So it's nothing to do with the ice cream. All that really happens is stress reduces. And while it is reducing, there's a pleasant feeling. While, not after, okay? Not produced, but it's only while it's happening. That's why. So let's come back to the example of our mother. Now, it was a really nice experience. We came back to see our mother and we feel so happy. Now we finally see her again. And all this longing, strong sense of longing, has reduced. And that was maybe one of the happiest moments for a long time. Right? Seeing our mother again after a while, maybe after a year. Can you imagine? When I don't know whether you had this experience, sometimes you might, but when I came back from this traveling, it was maybe nearly 2 years. I have not seen my mother for 2 years. So can you imagine when you haven't seen somebody who you really love for 2 years? If it depends on how much you value this person, right? If the value is really high, that means the stress level is very high. And the higher the stress level, and the more the stress reduces, the more it feels good. Right? Now you're back. But after this experience, now let's say you're living with your mother again, every day, day in, day out. And then in the morning, so after a few days, it gets normal. So you go to work. In the morning, you leave your house, and in the evening, you come back. Now you haven't seen your mother for maybe 8 hours. So what happens in these 8 hours? So I'm leaving home. I'm leaving home for 8 hours. In the morning, I was at maybe at 20 units of stress. Now maybe over these 8 hours, it will rise to 40. And then I come back. So in the evening, when I meet my mother again, what is the happiness that I experience then? 20. Means these 20 units of stress which have developed because of the wanting in these 8 hours, now they are reduced. And therefore, when I see her at the end of the day, 20 units of pleasure will be experienced while it's reducing. So now you can understand when people try to marry someone, why it fails. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't want to. Failing in what sense? That's what I want you to understand. Failing in the sense that isn't what people usually expect. If I can marry this person, the happiness that he or she gives me, I can have that every day, right? Because right now I can see this person once a week. And whenever I see that person, it makes me really happy. So therefore, if I can be with this person more, surely I should be more happy also, because I can get that happiness every day. Isn't that the logic why people want to associate something more if they feel happiness? Because they believe happiness is something this person gives me, and it gives me a lot of happiness. Therefore, by associating this person more, happiness should also be more. But will it happen? It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened because of this. Because it was never the person who gave us any happiness. It was how much we wanted something that we didn't have. And when we found that, the stress level reduced by that amount, by how much we wanted it. But if you have it all the time, because it actually has nothing in there, the person has nothing in there, nothing ever came to you. All that really happened was how much you were in stress finding something that reduced, nothing more. So that's why when you live with someone every day, as long as you believe happiness is there, your mind will always start to want, and by the amount of how much you want it or how much you are stressed, some happiness will be experienced. Actually, it's not happiness, it's always the reduction of pain. Right? So it's really ironical. What we experience as happiness is nothing more than reduction of pain. You have never experienced happiness. Actual happiness you have never experienced, and you cannot experience. Food or music or people cannot give you happiness. If there's something that you want and they have it, then your mind can stop looking for it. Your mind can, this longing activity can stop. And that means you feel this reduction of suffering, reduction of pain. That's all that happened. So, we're going to go through this, I will explain this a few more times in the next few weeks so that you can really understand and clearly apply this to your life, because when you understand this, you don't want, then you will realize what this pleasure really is, and then you will no longer want, you will no longer fall for this. Because the problem that you have is that you misunderstand this happiness that you feel when you eat something, when you listen to something. You always believe it comes from the outside world, but it is nothing more than a wanting in your mind being fulfilled. The wanting in itself is something which caused you only pain, nothing more. Wanting in itself, the moment it started within your mind, didn't give you anything else but pain. But when what you wanted came to you, that pain went away because you had what you wanted. So you didn't have to look for it for a moment, for some time. It's like somebody gives you pain, and then after patting you, first hitting you on a certain point, which means you get free pain, and then after patting you on that same spot, then therefore the pain goes away. So you have never gotten anything. It's just the pain, and pain goes away. These two things happen in our lives. You can't say that you experience happiness in this, and you can't say that these people or these musics, sounds, tastes had anything. So you need to actually clearly interpret what you experience, right? This will be the key for actually being able to enjoy your life much more. Then you will no longer have any problems with people, because you will not see any more difference with people, because right now you like certain people. Why? Because when you listen to them, you feel good, right? Because maybe they tell something nice to you, they give you compliments, and you believe compliments is something which gives me happiness, right? Don't you think a compliment gives you happiness? Don't you feel like that? Or you look really nice today, or you are really smart, you are really clever. You did it really great. Good job. Like, for example, when I'm teaching in school, the kids always come to me and ask me. In our monastery, we have a school, so I'm teaching the kids mathematics and other things, and whenever the kids come to us, come and say, please, can you write down good job, or can you give me a comment? Why? Because they believe that when somebody writes this, happiness will come from that. Happiness will come from this compliment. You did great. You did a great job. But now you have to think, is it really something that these words bring me? I mean, for example, if it is good job, which gives me happiness, now I should record this on my phone or my voice recorder, and you can play this every day if you want. Every moment you can play this on repeat. Good job, good job, good job. Now, would you do that? No. So then therefore, how much is in the words? How much money would you pay for somebody to always compliment you all the time? That's not something that can give you happiness. Because all it does is, if you're looking, if that is what the mind is looking for, and it hasn't heard these words for a while, now this is something that gives the mind pain. And as much pain is there, as much it feels good when these words come. But not because of the words. Not because of the words. The words don't bring that. It's because that is what you're looking for, and that's what comes. And as much as you're looking for it, that much you will feel this pain reducing for a moment. Does it make sense? So, honestly, we have to little by little finish. Honestly, if there's anything in your life that you should do with your life, if you ask me, then it is to understand these concepts. These are not very highly scientific concepts. These are very simple. Sometimes sometimes it'll take you need to understand the connections. It'll take you a few weeks or months to understand how these things are connected. But when you understand this, you will realize how much this world and we all in society have been tricked. How much we are living in a total lie about what happiness is. Because people can make you a slave by giving you false promises. People will tell you what happiness is, and then you're prepared to work for them. People have told you, if you can be really successful in your school or in your career, then you can be happy. Then what did you do? You worked really, really hard for the happiness that you think comes out at the end of doing that. By becoming successful. Sometimes people try to acquire a lot of money or material things because they believe all these things give actually happiness. But all that they do is all that they help you do is release your vexations, nothing more. It's not actually happiness. If you want happiness, what you need to do is free your mind from this, what we call vexation. Free your mind from this. Happiness is simply if you can have a mind which only has this. That I'm not saying that you will be just like a robot listening sound. No, you can have some sort of loving kindness, compassion, these things, but these never come with expectations, right? These things you can have. Emotions in the sense of loving kindness, compassion, these things will exist, but there's no expectations in these things. So it's no longer the love that we know that exists within us. It's a kind of a universal love. So this will still happen, but the stress level in our mind will be like that. Just zero. So actually that means happiness, according to the Buddha's idea, is not happiness. It's not this. Now if this is stress, then happiness should be the opposite of that, right? That means if in my bank account I have minus 20, now I am in debt. If I have money, then I am in plus. But the Buddha said, actually, plus does not exist. The only thing exists is no debts. No debt is equal to happiness. So what the Buddha means is, the mind which does not experience any stress, that is the happiness. That is a kind of a equanimous, means it's just a freedom within. That's not the happiness you experience when you see something. That is because when you see something and it feels good, that's a relief of vexation. It doesn't come from the outside world. It's not the object which gives you this. It's only what happens is a longing is fulfilled in the mind, and it is the longing which causes stress. So it's a relief of vexation, nothing more. Actually, it's nothing gained. But we always believe that we are looking for happiness from the outside world. When we do that, now we start to suffer. And when it comes to us, the moment that what we are looking for comes to us and it agrees to that, what we are looking for, now the mind can come to a rest. And when it rests, it feels this relaxation. And when it feels this relaxation, it feels, truly, that was something which gave me happiness. But the mind should realize it was an indoctrination. It's like what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. People can give you all sorts of ideas, and the problem with the mind is the moment it accepts these things, it starts to see reality in a way which it never is, based on these false ideas. Our mind can create its own reality. This pleasure is like a fantasy, because our mind can create a fantasy based on what it starts to believe. That's how it works. So I'm going to go into these things more in the next few weeks. This is a bit heavy for today. So I hope that you at least, we covered a lot today, I feel like, but if you have understood, hopefully, that these are the two things which happen in our mind. There's the seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching processes. I gave you this example. This is what happens here is just seeing, let's say. But of course, if somebody is looking for a pen, or if somebody likes, if somebody has a liking, or if somebody has a view, this blue pen is really has a lot of happiness, it's very beautiful. Now, if that is something that you wanted, now when you see this, you will feel not just seeing, you will feel also pleasure. But if there's no such view, no such wanting in your mind, then it will be just seeing. So therefore, how happy something makes you depends on whether you are looking for it or not. So it has nothing to do with the outside object, right? If it depends on whether you are looking for that or not, whether it makes you happy or not, then what has that to do with the object? To make you happy, I have to give you something you were looking for. I mean, sometimes I could give you if you want to play golf, like what we call that stick which you play golf, or a tennis racket. I can give you that, but you might say, what's the point? Why that? Because you were not looking for that. But if there's somebody who really likes to play tennis and he has a wanting for that, now then he can be made happy. So that's why when you're going for a birthday, you always need to give somebody what he likes to make him happy. Because it's never in the objects that happiness. Otherwise, everybody should feel happy about the same thing. If somebody's interested in politics, you might give him a book about politics. But if it's somebody who's not interested in politics, now that book is so useless to that person. So the book itself has how much happiness? Nothing. So if you can understand this point, and that happiness and unhappiness is generated within our mind, so that means we have the key to our own happiness. We have the key to our own liberation by working on our mind. We don't have to be a slave to the outside world. So whenever people annoy you today, actually they have never annoyed you. But something happens in your mind because of which you feel annoyed. So if we can change that part, you can be with the same people that you say annoy you today and no longer be annoyed. Because it's not their making, it's your making, right? So that's the idea. That's all we need to do. It's not complicated. All you need to do is try to understand this little by little. This is not complicated. Everybody can understand this. Try to do merits. Try to engage in opportunities to gain as much merits as you can. This will help you to understand this. And when you understand this, try to see this in your life. Try to reflect on this. That's all you need to do. Right? So, again, as I said last week, these sermons, just listening to a few sermons can't solve all your life's problems. Because happiness comes out of the right habits. The right habits is something you need to continuously engage in. That means it's little things done every day which give you the results. It's not a big thing done once, right? If you're doing one thing once, don't expect it will change your life. It's not going to do. What will change your life is the right things done every day. And therefore, coming to these sermons is only a small piece. Coming to them regularly will be better, as well as using these things to make an impact in your life and thinking about the people that you meet and how you behave and what you say to others and how you think, how you speak, how you act. The habits that you have, all kinds of habits. Sometimes habit of smoking, sometimes habit of watching videos in the internet for hours or endlessly. These are all habits, and some of them are not really good. So little by little you can, with the help of this and with the help of this community, you can improve these things. And then you can have the real happiness. That's how it works. That's how it worked for me. So don't expect any sudden solutions, but little by little incremental solutions and always doing the right thing continuously. It will give you the solutions. Right. Okay. Then, finally, we will share our merits today. So, after the merit sharing, we also have the Buddha Puja. So whoever is interested to stay for the Buddha Puja can do that. It's also a meritorious deed. And there's also, I think, alms giving after that, only for whoever is interested. And I saw that last week, some people who stayed, I think the people who organized this, I mean the school organizers, everybody who's taking a lot of effort to make these things possible, they were, I'm not sure, but that's how I understood, that's how I saw, some people were willing to give the chance to offer something even to the people who didn't bring anything, right? So it's actually a great thing when you can give the gift of giving, right? So you give somebody the opportunity to give something that earns you also a lot of merits. You give that person the chance to gain merits, and you yourself also gain the merits, right? So that's great. So I saw that and I was really happy about that. So you're invited to participate in these meritorious activities if you want to, but you don't have to. Finally, we will share our merits. So let us take a moment to transfer the merits that we have acquired today by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, by inviting the Swaminatha to deliver the sermon, by washing the feet, by caring for the Swaminatha, by offering flowers and everything else, by organizing this event, listening to the Dhamma, contemplating the Dhamma. First and foremost, let's transfer these merits to all the bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasikas and upasakas who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and have passed it down in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study and understand the Dhamma. Let us also transfer these merits to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives towards the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also transfer these merits to Guru Swaminatha, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarika and Anagarika attached to the monastery. Let's also transfer these merits and express our gratitude to all those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha by offering the four requisites, by extending their know-how and their well wishes. Let us also transfer these merits to everyone who is involved in organizing these events and making these events possible, be they the chairman of the Royal International School or the administrative staff of the Royal Institute. And may through the power of these merits, they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, friends and acquaintances, elders and employers and employees, and to all those teachers and all those who have helped us and supported us and assisted us. May through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Let's also transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our ancestors, to all those who have predeceased us, to all those who have been family and friends to us in this infinitely long journey of samsara. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the armed forces as well as the police force, who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we have acquired today. Let's also transfer these merits to all members Let's also transfer these memories to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them may be those who've been family and friends to us in this infinitely long journey in samsara. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the warful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let us all resolve that, may through the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped to make this program a success, become Arat Nahanse and Arat Nahanse in this very life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all, and now the Mahasangha will share their blessings to you. Raga ginni detva, dvesha ginni detva, moha ginni detva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayan, sukhita dharavetva. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satvayo. Nibbāna parama sukhayan, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayan, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayan, sukhita dharavetva. Raga ginni niveva, dvesha ginni niveva, moha ginni niveva, nivan sapalabheva, nivan sapalabheva. Nivan sapalabheva. Tunurange, Suesi Ananta Mahaguna Siya Loka Sila Satvayo, Nibbāna Paramasukhayan Sukhitāra.